Yo. So this is going to be a little bit of an experiment. I am not entirely sure what this is going to look like, but I wanted to find a way to... Let me back up. The Hellbreaker Sequence is a series of smaller stories. That's kind of how we envisioned it starting off. It was supposed to be a large collection of short stories, novella-sized at most stuff, all interconnected over an increasingly long span of time. Legacy, the game we're playing, really helps us to do this because that's kind of what this game is about anyway. It's about smaller stories, smaller pieces of a bigger arc that are played as sort of its own self-contained thing, right? The characters stay the same per age for the most part, but, we kind of can go back and forth between a lot of different things. And zoom in where we find things to be interesting, zoom out when they're no longer interesting. And when we made the families, the factions for the game, the faction that I created was the Hellbreakers. And I knew because of by virtue of the sort of game we were playing, the Hellbreakers were not going to get as much screen time as the other factions. And that's by intent, right? Because I'm the GM, I have to be narrating the rest of the world, I have to be showing these other pieces, and the player characters are what the game is about. And so we were going to focus on their families more or less. But I want to know what the Hellbreakers are up to. I want to know what they're going to do. I want to know what their story is, and I want to see it alongside everything else. And some of that will be done when they kind of enter into other factions' stories and their plans. We've already seen that a little bit with The Last Watch, because Cassius is taking an interest in the Hellbreakers and their kind of next step. He actually gave them, he lent aid to them for whatever role they're going to do next. So I got to remember that. But the Hellbreakers have not actually been seen on screen yet. Not really. We certainly haven't seen Riva, the main character that I made for this age. And so I want to zoom in and I want to see what they've been up to. I want to see how they function. But this is going to be a little strange, mainly because it's just going to be me, right? There's no one else here. And so I imagine it won't go like a normal role-playing game session will. It will be a little weirder. But I'm sure it will get more comfortable as we go on here. We're also planning on doing smaller mini stories as well. Maybe I can convince Carly to do a mini session with me after this with the Herald. That'd be fun. But yeah, so we're here and we're going to find out. We're going to find out what's up with the Hellbreakers. We're going to see what they've been up to. So let's just jump into this thing, shall we? If you're wondering what the Hellbreaker Sequence is, if you just randomly stumbled upon this, this is a role-playing game campaign using Legacy Life Among the Ruins, 2nd edition, and it's about the apocalypse. It's about when things go wrong and the people who pick up the pieces and try to build a new future. Cool. So, we have the Hellbreakers here. We know that they have... Well, here, let's just go through the surpluses and stuff, right? Let's see what all of them do. Because we've done that with all the other factions so far. So let's check it out. Let me see if I can find the resource page. Here we go. So we have a surplus of recruits, safety, and defenses. So starting with defenses, your family has measures in place to protect them from harm. This might be high walls around a settlement, guard patrols, scrap metal welded on their wagons, or rugged armor. And keep in mind, the Hellbreakers, this faction, is a small group of dedicated rebels and revolutionaries, warriors of the people that are looking at the injustice that is happening because of the Perihelions, because of the New Harmony and the Eldritch horrors known as the Tannerin. Looking at all of these things and wanting something better, something more for the people of Jadin, right? The Jadinites, maybe, is what I'll call them. That's probably as good a name as any for now. And so we're going to find out what... I've said that about a million times. I'm trying to think of what I was even going to say there, besides the same thing over and over again. Right, what I was going to say is we're going to zoom in on this small group of dedicated rebels and revolutionaries and see what they're up to. So by having a surplus of defenses for that small group, it doesn't mean that the whole city of Kelith, which is the urban hellhole for the poor and shunned that they live in, doesn't mean that that whole place is walled and defended, but rather the Hellbreakers themselves have defenses, have armor in place, have some way to protect themselves in a surplus manner, right? They have more than they need. And so this came directly from Jared's family, the Last Watch, and their basically training of the Hellbreakers, or the Jadinites in their entirety. But the Hellbreakers have obviously benefited from this defense that they've gotten. So that's the surplus that they have there, and that's what that means, right? Measures in place to protect them from harm. So that's good for them. They also have a surplus of recruits. Your family is bustling with people. They may not be particularly skilled or handy, but in terms of raw manpower, no one comes close. At game start, a family with this has about 40 to 50 able-bodied adults. So I'm pretty sure we've upped all the numbers, because normally with Legacy, it's very small groups of people to start with, and I think that's not the case for this setting. I think maybe if we multiplied everything by 10, it would probably be more accurate. Or at least by 5, right? So probably in the hundreds rather than the tens we're measuring here. So they have quite a few people at their disposal. Yeah, maybe not multiplied by 10, but I sure know it's more than 40 to 50 people, certainly. But yeah, so maybe twice as many, 3 times as many, something like that, right? Maybe low hundreds is kind of what we're looking at here. But again, this is just a faction in a bigger group of people. I'm not trying to measure out the entire population of the Jadinites, just the Hellbreakers. So definitely more than 40 or 50, but I'm not entirely sure the exact number. But we have a lot of people. Also, they have a surplus of safety, which makes sense, along with the defenses. You luxuriate in hard-earned peace and stability. The struggles of survival are beginning to fade from memory, and you're beginning to get a sense of what life was like before the fall. And I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that the Perihelions have actually made life easier for the Jadinites. And that's maybe something that is a little begrudging to the Hellbreakers. I think where before, people joined their cause because, yes, survival is hard, and the Hellbreakers can make us tougher and help us survive more. But now the Perihelions are making life easier by enslaving the Jadinites, and the Hellbreakers, as a particular faction among the Jad Knights is still a beneficiary of that safety. So, yeah, it's very interesting. Because this revolutionary group has a very particular feel to it that I'm starting to get a sense of. So let's look at the needs then. So they need leadership. It's unclear how your family is meant to operate. There's no clear voice in managing discussions, and few have a clear idea of what they're meant to be doing at any one time. And this makes sense because I have the governance be a true town hall democracy. It's basically just a bunch of people getting together and shouting at each other every time. So that makes sense. They also need morale. Your family has descended into backbiting, factionalism, and despair. Any attempt to organize them to a group action is likely to run into complaint, sabotage, or apathy. That makes sense too. Right? Even though I think it's even because they have safety and defenses, nobody is sure. Nobody has a clear direction. Things are good, right? And the fact that they need justice, which is also true, right? And that means there's a long-standing crime that demands reparation. Reparation is the group that hurt you hasn't suffered at all, while you have to deal with the harm they dealt every day, right? Even though that's true, and that's the Perihelions, the Hellbreakers don't have enough clear direction of purpose because of the fact that they're not as hard-pressed as they could be. They need, really what this faction needs, they need struggle. They need something to smack them in the butt and get them moving in one direction. And we're going to see if Riva can offer that to them. So that's cool. And just to review a little bit more about the Hellbreakers and who they are. The masses were exiled from the Before's utopia, right? So that is true. They're a ragtag band of survivors that wear heavy industrial gear and are governed by a true town hall democracy. They have some stuff with the Last Watch. The Last Watch helped them in their moment of greatest need and has conspired with those who oppressed us. So that's cool, and not at the same time. And then our move for being settled, settled in the Perihelions area, normally just Kelith. You're embedded into the Homeland's largest settlement, which is Kelith, and your opinion there carries great weight among the masses. That's technically a move that we can use. There's a great weight that our opinion carries. Also, we have solidarity. When you reveal your numbers to a community in suffering, erase any of their needs that you have as a surplus. So that's cool. So we can give someone recruits safety or defenses if we come along them. We also have 2 moves up here. Mighty Renegades. It doesn't matter that you are everyday people. Together you will change the course of history. When you have one of surplus recruits, morale, or leadership, and gain a second, you also get the third. So what's great about that is as soon as we get leadership or morale, we will get the second. As soon as this faction gets a kick in the butt, we'll knock down the dominoes and we'll be in a pretty good place. So that's cool. Let's see. Also, Hell Can't Stop Us is a move we have. When you make a grand collective effort to create a wonder, you can invest surplus leadership or morale without erasing it. So that's not going to come into play in the first stage here because we're not worrying about wonders yet. But that will definitely be a thing I want to do later on. You know what? I'm honestly curious. Do families ever get more moves? Is that a thing that you can do? I'm honestly really curious now. Is that ever a thing that can happen? Let's see if it happens during, like, an age change. Being story moves. Interesting. Okay. So there's trials and fortunes that you can get. That's cool. Okay. So everybody updates the map. You give this broad story of their family through the age. You change doctrine, lifestyle, assets, and tradition options as desired. Name a new custom they developed to remember this age. Add one new threat, opportunity, or faction to the map. Add or adjust map elements to fit the fortresses and trials chosen. Decide whether to keep their old character playbook, move their original character to a new playbook, or build one new one from scratch. Then they trigger a roll move of their choice. Okay. And then they get to choose trials and fortunes. Let's see if any of these fortunes can give you a new move. Lots of gaining resources. You can gain bonuses to stats. That's cool. Doesn't look like it. Oh, yes. Okay. It looks like there's some of the trials can give you moves. That's interesting. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, there is a way to do that then. I was really curious. And obviously it wouldn't happen a lot because there's a lot of game to do and you're, in theory, playing the same faction the entire time. So, okay, cool. Awesome. All right, we can move on from there. So, and just to remind everybody, assets. So you can always add another tag to your gear if you add unreliable as a tag as well. I know I did that with Riva, but they also pick 3. Anyone from the Hellbreakers gets to have heavy and menacing tools, melee, brutal. So they basically get chainsaw swords. Is kind of what that means. Power swords and industrial tool, like power hammers is definitely a thing in this one. Industrial exosuits. That's how they're defended. It's powered and tough. And then you travel by horse. So basically these guys are like power armor knights, which is kind of how I envision them. But they're power armor knights with like a bunch of stuff related to revolution specifically, and not just like outright war. Okay, cool. So I know that the Hellbreakers are going to do something in terms of the family move, and then from there we're going to move on and zoom into something and have Riva take a scene here. But we should figure out what the threads are. I need to look at my notes here. What the threads are that I can pull for this situation. What did I write down for notes with these people? Okay, so a subsect of the Hellbreakers who are disillusioned and impassioned, who are looking for a magic bullet to their problems, have sought the dark powers in secret. They found some graffiti that resonated with them, and that led them to seek out the new harmony. So that is a true thing. Maybe I should make a list of the Hellbreaker seeds. Hellbreaker threads, because that will be stuff that I want to keep a closer eye on. What else did I write down? We got noble hunters chasing after prime genetic specimens as a threat that's going on. And that's directly related to the Hellbreakers because the Jadonites are the ones being taken, really. What threat did Connor add? He added peddlers of a new drug that removes the desire for beauty. That was the one that the recollection had to deal with. And then right, yeah, that was Jared's other one over there. Okay. Okay, let's look at the other stuff for the Hellbreakers, right? Hellbreakers and their kings suffer as thralls. The perihelions, they can't leave because of their own overwhelming power. That's the obvious thread, but we'll write it in there anyway. What else? The Hellbreakers used to believe in the presence and still do to a large extent. And the presence is in the Holy Father, the god of this setting, which is basically just, God. Let's see. The Hellbreakers renewed the Forgotten Herald's faith in the future because the Hellbreakers defend the defenseless. These are all things that are true. Yeah. The Last Watch is cultivating the Hellbreakers as a backup force. So I know the Last Watch is interested in them right now. What else we got? Okay, that's all the faction history stuff. Character role seeds. Riva caused suffering to the Forgotten Heralds by leading some of their members to their deaths in a dangerous area. Riva feels like she needs to make amends with them. So I know that she needs to make amends with the Forgotten Heralds. That could be a thing. Okay. I know that we got that going on. And then Riva has stuff with the other characters, but we're not going to meet any of the other characters. This time. Okay. So that's all stuff that's going on. I feel like there's something else that I needed to write down. The Hellbreakers. Oh, well, I mean, they have surpluses and needs that they want to do. That they want to get rid of. That we can attempt to do. That's one thing that can happen. We should figure out what main family move they want to do here. What do they want to accomplish? Okay. I guess really the question is, are we doing something external or internal? Is Riva leading? We should probably start internal. Yeah, that's probably the place to start here. Because the external thing that's going to happen is they're going to do some sort of terrorist thing towards the perihelions, right? That's really the thing. But they should probably get their own crap together before they do that. And that just makes more sense anyway to do for this solo session, because then I can focus in on what they are up to more exclusively and not have to bleed into anyone else's stuff. Okay. Let's just take a look at the family moves, shall we? When your family must resist hardship, temptation, or infighting. When you call on your family's allies. When you direct your family to seize or maintain control over research. When your family infiltrates other factions. When you gather your family's specialists in council. When you call on an obligation another family has to you. Well, they have leadership, morale, and justice they want to get. Justice would be the one that they would do if they were going to fight back at the perihelions, right? That's really what that is. As soon as they get back at the perihelions, as soon as they get some sort of closure there, then they can get that justice, right? It's not really that they're going to free the Jadnites. It's not they're going to free, let my people go to the Pharaoh and get everyone out and then they've gotten justice. It's mainly just they get vengeance, really, right? Like, because this is for them as a faction. They were wronged by the perihelions. So they need to get that back in some sort of quality or quantity. So that's kind of what's going on there. But we're probably focused on his leadership and morale. So probably what's going to happen is Riva's going to, try to take over, right? So let's take a look at Riva, shall we? Riva is a firebrand. +1 force, -1 lore, +1 steel, +1 sway. So not the smartest person in the world, but got muscle, got steel, got diplomacy. She's a rebel, so marking your actions cause suffering to a group who you have no quarrel with. Say one group you need to make amends with. So she does need to make amends with the heralds, but she can't do that right now. And the reason for that, the heralds you don't just find the heralds, right? They come to you. So she's on the lookout for that. But as of right now, she's just dealing with the guilt of this. And I think really what is gonna be happening here is, well, because Riva's a rebel, right? She's a rebel to her own faction. She's rebellious in a band of rebels. So part of the reason that it has, right, the thing for the rebel being mark when your actions cause suffering to a group you have no quarrel with, right? Probably what happened is there's a probably large subsect within the Hellbreakers that really respects and looks up to the heralds, right? That view them literally as angels sent by the Holy Father, and their prophet leader Jadin was also served the Holy Father, right? All of this is connected, and so she's not quite outsider, but she's obviously she's kind of in disfavor with the Hellbreakers right now because of her mistakes. And so really what she's going to be doing here is dealing with that, not directly but indirectly, by just saying, you know what, these people still need to listen to me. I know what's right, so on and so forth. So I'm trying to think how I want to go about this, right? Because the thing that pegs me to this right away is this whole hold together move, right? When your family must resist hardship, temptation, or infighting, roll plus mood. There's definitely going to be something like that this solo session, because that's kind of what's happening. If she's going to try to get them to do something, right, is the idea. But I don't think that's the first thing that happens, or maybe it is. No, I don't think so. I'm just trying to think, because normally when you zoom in, you start with a family move and then you zoom in. I'm just trying to think of what family move would start off this whole like, because you're not. I'm not calling on a family's allies. I'm not directing the family to seize or main control of resource. I'm not infiltrating. Yeah, maybe uncover secrets is what I'm starting with. Do I have any? Does the family have any data? No. So I guess I'm just rolling straight. Is the plan? Yeah, I think that's where we're starting. We're going to start with a uncover secrets move because this is just Riva getting in counsel with the people that she respects. The other thing I need to bring up is the document I made for the NPCs. So recollection. Oh yeah, Alon. I forgot about him. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, maybe that's what we start off with. I think that would be really cool. I want to see this moment. Okay, so we start the like movie of this, right? With you know what? I'm gonna make the move first, and then we'll decide what that means because rolling here will decide a lot as to like how it goes. So let's roll. Oh, yay, 11. Okay, so on a hit, and then it's a 10 plus. Okay, so I get to ask one or two questions. Let's see. I'm gonna look first at the adding to the map. Do I want to? Well, let's ask the question first. How do I remove need? Leadership. And I think I know the answer to the question, but I want to play out the scene to get to there. And then I'm going to add to the map a powder keg ready to explode. And I'm going to add what's a thread happening right now that I could tie into this? Because I'm thinking adding it to Azimuth would be cool. That probably makes the most sense. But maybe not. What powder keg do I want to add? Maybe I don't need to add that. Maybe there's enough powder kegs going on. A place to shelter from harm. A barrier that impedes travel. Interesting. Okay, this is going to be interesting. All right, this is what I'm going to add. I am going to add, and this is just basically what is happening here is Riva is taking off and going out into the wasteland to get some advice from a friend of hers. And on the way, she realizes something. She sees that there is angels with flaming swords barring the way into the void. So some of the Forgotten Heralds have discovered Paradise Lost over here and have found a way to basically defend it. Not defend it, but keep people who shouldn't be in it out. And so if the New Harmony wants to use Paradise Lost at all, they'll have to deal with the Angels with Flaming Swords barring the way into the void. So Riva is going to yeet herself all out into the wasteland here. And I'll have her make a roll. We zoom in and we see her on her horse. But we'll make the roll first before I describe anything more. Wasteland survival. How does lend aid work exactly? Did I just blow it? Yeah, I think that's what happened basically. But yeah, I think I blew it. I didn't like blow it, but this is the roll that I made, and if I had rolled another d6, it wouldn't have mattered. I would have gotten a 5 and a 6 anyway, because I would drop the lowest. Because I got fleeting advantage from them. So, Wasteland Survival. Let's do this. I think I have a +1, right? +1 to steal. Ah! +1 to steal. Okay. Whew, 7. Okay. On a hit, pick 1. The GM will give you further details. And I guess that's it. You lose something along the way. A member of your group is hurt or sick. An obstacle or threat is blocking your way back. Ooh, let's go with that one. An obstacle or threat is blocking your way back. Yeah, let's say Elon camps out around Paradise Lost. And so the reason that she discovered this whole thing with angels and with flaming swords is because she was like, on her way to find Elon. And now to get back, she will have to face them again in some capacity. It's not like they're going to kill her necessarily, but she'll have to face them. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. So what we see, I don't need to move that because nobody else is on this. What we see is a feminine figure. She has a surly face, fiery eyes, a graceful body. And I wish I could just post the picture that I found for her, but copyright and stuff. I'll post this pin in chat if anyone's in there and is interested. I mean, she looks Middle Eastern, kind of like olive skin, Israeli, is what she looks like. And she's thick, dark hair. And she just has a frown about her. Obviously, something is weighing her down. And she has heavy and menacing tools. So we see her with a... Let's think about this. What would she have? Heavy and menacing tools. Industrial gear. Let me see if I can find an interesting kind of stylistic thing here. Two weapons. Because basically, the Hellbreakers get all of their weapons from industrial gear that used to be like the symbols of their oppression, and now they fashioned weapons out of them. Trying to think of what exactly she has. Oh, that's lit. People are so cool. All right, this is the sword that she has. She has a salvaged... I mean, it's basically made out of, like, vehicle parts. So it's a one-handed sword fashioned from a typical car engine's connecting rod, which connects the piston to the crankshaft based on the average length of the typical car connecting rod and the blade. For comparison, this sword would be approximately 60 to 65 centimeters. And so basically this thing looks like a big old rusty one-handed sword made out of like scavenged metal, and the handle basically looks like, like a tool handle, and there's a big circle in the middle of it. It's such a cool looking thing. It's actually like a 3D model. Like I can't actually like just share the picture or whatever, but it's super cool looking, and I'm gonna save this. Definitely saving this in the Riva folder. Yeah, she definitely has that. It's kind of scavenged sword. And she has an industrial exosuit. And let me see. I saved some designs for this, and I'm trying to decide what I decided on. I mean, it does look sort of cyberpunk-y. Okay, it looks kind of like diesel punk, I guess, is sort of the feel here. But there's definitely some Iron Man vibes going on, right? Like, I think the suit itself is like this kind of reddish orange that's like on this, kind of like a rust orange, and there's all sorts of gear, not gears, but like tools and things all over it. It's obviously armor. It's an exosuit. It kind of strengthens her, moves with her, and it's power, tough, mobile, and unreliable. Mobile being basically she can fly with it, and it basically has these kind of like jagged, spiky, kind of like jet powered maybe in gas. I don't know how they're powered, but there's like these little like wings in the back. She kind of looks like a mix between Iron Man and Hawkgirl from DC, with her gear on. But she is also riding a horse. So that's all kind of happening. She's riding into the wasteland. We see this desert scrubland out in the wasteland. There's all sorts of crazy looking flora and fauna. We see a giant like crab looking thing sort of bury itself in the sand in the distance. We can only tell that this is happening because it's such a huge creature, but it's far enough away from Riva that she's not bothered by it. But she looks over there and sort of shudders as she realizes just how enormous that thing is. And Riva eventually, we kind of see off to the right. I mean, it's probably not what it probably looks like. Is a desert landscape. The sun is beating down on her. But we see off to the right in the distance what basically looks like an oasis, but like it's an oasis of giant purple trees, giant purple-leaved trees. And that's Paradise Lost, right? That's the garden, the proverbial evil Garden of Eden sort of thing that's going on. And she just, escaped from there. And it's jailers. And we see her come up upon what amounts to a big ol' collection of rock formations jutting out of a more or less sandy desert. This big old rock formation, and we see kind of just around the whole thing, right? A makeshift camp, right? Someone obviously lives here. And we see. Let me get a picture of, or not a picture, but let me look at what Elon looks like and has. Okay, so he has the heavy and menacing tools. He has industrial exosuit. He has the horse. Yeah. So he is. This camp is built around this rock formation, right? So we see various like pots and pans hanging up, hanging off of one of these big old rocks. We see, tent canvas stretched across two of these formations, making some sort of like shelter against the sun. And we see lots of scavenged materials. And we see Riva ride up to this camp. And you're just looking around. Obviously, Elon isn't here yet. He's off doing something. And she gets down from her horse, pats her horse. And I should probably name her horse. What's a cool name for her horse? Probably like just in English. Maybe something fire-related. Fire-related words. So I think this is what we're gonna do. I think that Riva bought her horse from someone from the Last Watch at one point in time past, and her horse's name, or the horse was already named when she got it, and its name is Dante, for Dante's Inferno. Of course, nobody on this world would recognize that, but yeah, the horse is named Dante, and she gets down from her horse, pats it, says, "Whoa, Dante, easy," and then like kind of leads him up to this like well, pulls it up some water, and gives her horse a drink as she kind of like looks around. Looks like there's probably actually like a trough that she can fill up, because the other guy uses a horse too. So she's just kind of like looking around, and I think what she does is she goes ahead and she presses a button on her exosuit, and she steps out of it and just kind of like stands there, like a robot. And she is wearing like a tank top, cargo pants sort of a thing, underneath. And she kind of just like, it's like, oh, it's so hot out, sort of a thing. And it's just, the heat is beating down on her. And she splashes some cool water in her face. And then she hears from the distance the sound of horse hooves, and she looks, and an Elon is riding over to the camp on his huge horse. Like this horse is just incredible. Big old horse. And Dante, as he gets closer, it's obvious that he's masculine. He has a twisted face, angry eyes, and a scarred body. And I think I have a picture of him that I found. Yeah. He has a white cape and is wearing, this powered exosuit. It looks mostly black. And he has, a helmet that is actually disguising his face for the most part. He has a giant chainsaw sword strapped across his back, and he comes back, and he swings off of his horse. No, I think he rides up to Riva on his horse, and then just like is staring at her. And Riva looks up and she says, "Thought you were dead, old man." And Elon stares at her for a long moment, and then just laughs, kind of like a shrill laugh, and takes this helmet off, and there's obviously some sort of like cooling system underneath, and it cools him off, and there's just some sort of like air hissing out when he takes off the helmet, and he swings down off the horse, ties up the horse somewhere, and looks at Riva, and this guy's face is twisted and scarred. Looks like he was maybe branded at one point on the side of his face. And he looks at Riva and says, "What brings you out here in the middle of nowhere? Troubles at home?" And then just goes on doing his regular life stuff, acting pretty nonchalant as he just walks around the camp and puts his stuff down and takes off his sword and all that. And Riva says, "Well, something like that." And Elon says, "It's a wonder you survived getting down here this far, Riva. This is a dangerous area. Lots of, there are things that live in the sand that you wouldn't want to cross. Dante looks like a fine animal, but he's not exactly prepared for that." He just kind of claps his own horse on the flank. And Riva looks at him and says, "Elon, I need your help." And Elon just like, sort of a thing. Ooh, wait a second. He's in hostile grounds, his roll move says. So let me look real quick. I think there's... Oh, hostile grounds means you do everything at disadvantage, right? Yeah, so she's going to have to do this at disadvantage. Yeah, so she looks at him and says, "Elon, the Hellbreakers, they need you. They aren't what they once were. They are falling apart. They're fighting with each other. Nothing is getting done. The perihelions are closing in. The Last Watch works with them now." And Elon says, "The Last Watch was already working with them." And he swears under his breath, calls them sort of name. Um, and Riva shakes her head and says, "No, not one cell. As far as I can tell, they've all gone and started working for the perihelions." And Elon just like looks at like really incredulous, and he says, "The last watch hasn't agreed on anything since they decided to use the fall instead of stopping it." And Riva just shrugs and she says, "I don't know. Elon, I'm confused. It seems like some of them might want to help, but it's so hard to trust them now. They're working with the perihelions. They're working. We need you. We need your sort of intense leadership. It's the only thing that's going to get us out of this mess." And Elon just like bark laughs. And he just says, "No, they couldn't handle me anymore. They made that very clear when they gave me this." And then he like points at the brand on the side of his face. And Riva just I think she like puts a hand on his shoulder and says, "Elon, you don't understand. This could be it. We're one step from giving up to them. They were talking about it just last week. And others, there's something different, dark about them. They are... The Hellbreakers aren't what they once were. We need a leader." And I'm going to have her roll at disadvantage to basically try to convince Elon to come back and whip them in shape. Find common ground, I guess. I wonder if that's the right macro for this. Well, I'm going to double check that will be the roll that we do, but I want to make sure that I'm doing that right. Okay. Let's drop the lowest. How do we... No matter what, it drops the lowest. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so it's not a 10, it's a... Oh, wow, that's bad. Because it's a disadvantage, so it's a 4. Oof. Okay, well, that obviously didn't work. So, GM move. Let's take a look. I'm trying to think of like what exactly would make the most sense here. because most of these don't really make sense. I mean, really, what it is, because I should probably do a soft move instead of a hard move, is just what I kind of expected this to be. And that is Aelon looking at Riva, right, and saying, "That's not me, kid. That's not me. I've moved so far beyond that I'm not even sure I fit in with the Hellbreakers anymore. I'm not sure that I am even..." And the implication of his, like, trailing off there is that maybe he was about to say, like, worthy or something like that, right? He's obviously doubting his own, like, membership among them and even ability to go back in some meaningful way. And Riva starts to, argue and say, "No, that's not..." And then Aelon says, "Riva, look at me. Nobody's going to listen to what I have to say after what I did. I've made too many mistakes. No. They need someone like you. Someone young and impassioned." And Riva just looks at Aelon, frowns, and says, "Me? No, Aelon, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not a leader. I couldn't. I've made mistakes too." And I think maybe what we get there is the conversation probably continues, for a little while. There's a little bit of a tense moment between the two, and then I think she stays there, at least at night, right, and just kind of camps out with him, and we see a scene of them, at the fire that night, making food or whatever, and she's, like, telling him the story of, like, what she did to get a bunch of Forgotten Heralds, like, basically destroyed, and he listens grimly, and then I think finally he says, "It's tough, kid. But there's one thing you have to realize. And I'm trying to think of, like, how he would go about saying this that wouldn't be like, you should do it even though you've made mistakes, but I can't do it because I've made mistakes, right? He probably wouldn't come at it in a hypocritical way. Let's see. His argument would probably go along the lines of, like, yeah, this is what he does. He says, "We all make mistakes, Riva. But I can see in your eyes that you're actually guilty about them. You want to make amends. I could care less. Or I couldn't care less." And Riva gives him a hard look and says, "I'm not buying the harsh old man act, Aelon. I know you too well for that." He said, "Do you? How long has it been, Riva? 2 years? No, you don't know me. Maybe no one ever did. Living out here, it's taught me something about myself. It's taught me that this world is cruel. And maybe working together isn't all it's cracked up to be. Maybe we can't win against this. Maybe the Perihelians are going to win no matter what because they are stronger. And maybe that's just the way it is." And then Riva says, "But it's not the way it is. This isn't about what's possible, Aelon. This is about what's right. This is about what we have to do to fix the world that our parents left us, that their parents left them. This is about what's right. This is about justice." You believed in justice once. And you can sit here and do nothing about it. Or you can stand up and actually fight. Wasting away here in the desert isn't going to accomplish anything. Come back with me. You still have the cloak. They didn't take that from you. And then Aelon said, they didn't take the cloak. Right, and then he says, I still have the cloak because they would have had to rip it out of my cold, dead hands to get it. I'm not a good person, Riva. You are. That's my point here. You can be the leader that I couldn't be. I can't be that person anymore. Maybe I never could. Me taking this cloak out of the desert with me is proof enough of that, isn't it? I didn't do it because I was planning on coming back and righting every wrong. I did it because I'm selfish and I'm a coward. I did because I wanted to. And Riva just frowns at him and says, this is all an act. You're just pretending for my sake. You're trying to push me into something. Curse you, it's working. And she stands up and kind of stretches. She says, maybe you're right. Maybe you can't be the leader that we need. Maybe things have moved far past that. But me, Aelon, what could I do? What could I hope to accomplish? I'm just what? Just a kid? Listen, I call you kid, but you're not a kid anymore. What are you, 19? You got a good head on your shoulders. You can do this. If anyone can, it's you. You remember what you did. They were going to execute me. Lynch me in the street. And you, a 17-year-old girl from the slums, you advocated for me. You rushed into the fray. You fought back people who were trying to strangle me to death there on the spot. And you convinced them to let me go. That was you, Riva. That wasn't me. If it had just been me, that we were writing everything on, I would have been dead. No, you can do this. You can do this. And Riva looks down. And she says, you really think so? And then Aelon just kind of shrugs and he says, if anyone can. Honestly, that's not even the point anymore. Someone is going to have to. And it can't be me. I'm sorry. Riva just swallows. You know, I loved you once. Back then, when you were the hero. And then Elon is just looking at her like, okay, is there more? And finally he says, it was never going to happen, kid. And she says, I know that. Now especially. I guess what I want to say is thank you. I looked up to you. You were my hero. And maybe you're not anyone's hero now, but you were mine when I needed it. And you were mine when I needed it, he says in response. So I guess we're even. No more heroics either way. Just normal people trying to make their way in this world. It's all we ever are. And she kind of looks up at the starry sky and she says, no, I don't think so. But I think it's going to be a hard road to find out for sure. Thanks, Elon. And then we get a shot in the morning with them kind of like heading out, right? And, you know, I think what I'm going to do is not have the angels be the barrier back, but have that giant sand creature that we saw be the barrier back, because I think that would be fun. A little battle scene here. And they're riding back, and I think she convinces him at the very least to, like, take her back to the homeland, to the settled parts of this place. And let's see. He has a move called My Kingdom, My Rules. Thanks to your heritage, strange tech, or pure grit, you're most comfortable in some region outside the safety of the homeland, the precarious ruins, the deep sea, the immaterial digital realms, off-world void, tunnels underground, or something else. You're perfectly adapted to that harsh reality and have advantage there. Oh, that's cool. Also, pick 2 to describe the method of transport you use to travel to the homeland and back. And I think the 2 I'm going to choose here for him is it makes the trip quickly and it can take others and items too. But it can't make the trip safely. So he's almost always fighting something out here. And so we see them riding back, and Elon is just kind of describing to her. You see these creatures, they live in the sand, and like as soon as he, of course, starts talking about it, you know, it arrives, and so this giant crustacean-looking thing like comes out from this like sand crab, comes out from the sand, and the battle commences. And there's not really like a specific way to do battle in Legacy, just use normal move stuff. But I think, right, like we get this horrible moment where it's like this giant monster is coming out, and I think right away the horses, you know, like drop. Dante probably like freaks out, and Riva falls off, and stabilizes herself with her like jet wings or whatever it is, right? And lands with her armor and pulls her sword out, and just like is looking, there's just dust and sand everywhere, and she's like, what is? And then we just see a giant claw start to almost descend on her, and Elon is gonna like ride out of the dust and grab her because his horse didn't throw him, but we're gonna see how that works. And he's gonna roll steel. And he has advantage because he is in his hostile grounds. All right, cool. So he has got a 10. So a 10 plus, the situation is safe unless changed significantly. And so we see him, you know, grab her, put put her on his horse, and then they ride out of the sand cloud, and then see Dante starting to like, is panicking, running off in the distance. And Riva does the whistle thing, and Dante eventually comes back around. But this sand thing, is just like, I'm trying to think if it's gonna chase them, or because the thing is that defuse probably like just solves the problem, really. Um, but so they kind of ride off a distance and see this like giant thing, right? Um, and it kind of slowly sinks back into the sand because it missed its opportunity to like ambush them, sort of a thing. And I guess they continue riding. I guess I didn't go to the roll screen there. They continue riding, and eventually they get to Paradise Lost, or near Paradise Lost, and suddenly in front of them is a Forgotten Herald. And this herald is it looks like, so it has a giant kind of like it's kind of like crystalline in its kind of aesthetic. It has a long crystalline kind of like robe. Well, at least the pauldrons are crystalline, and then the rest of it's probably like this silk. It has a giant ring of metal that is not complete. It has like slices parallel to each other, cut in kind of the middle of it, but it's like these rings of metal that are, it's like floating, like it's a halo, but just like around it, kind of like at an angle. And its face is blank, but kind of crystalline. All these different like facets um, and stuff. And it's suddenly in the middle of the path, well, not the path, but in front of them in the desert. And a flaming sword comes out, and no, probably, yeah, it probably does have a flaming sword. Yeah, flaming sword comes out, and it says, right, like, none can pass within this realm without incurring our wrath. And this like monotone single note that it's kind of singing to itself. And Elon is pretty much just like brings out the chainsaw sword, like, all right, we're gonna go at it, sort of a thing. And Riva probably like says, no, stop, and then like gets down and walks over, and she says, we mean no harm, Harold. I am Riva of the Hellbreakers. And his face turns to her and says, Riva, you said? Well, I know of that name. You are not welcome among the heralds. You threaten your very life by coming here. You are not found without sin. And Riva kind of like winces, and she says, I know. But please, don't damn the Hellbreakers along with me. There is still... We worked together once. We served the same god once. Yes, but no longer. You have sought after other gods, and now we have come with judgment. And Riva knows that that's not how all of the heralds think. But she sort of like continues like putting up the hand, and she says, please, could you just please listen to me? And I guess her argument would be like, I know that you have been searching for me, that Justice is what I deserve. But do you not believe in redemption as well? In mercy? What is your holy commandment? The one I heard Harahel, the Vibrant, say. What was it again? And the herald seems to pause, hesitate, and when it doesn't answer, Riva responds and says, "It is holy to defend the weak. Surely you know. That is what the Hellbreakers are trying to do, and I am trying to help them. I'm trying to atone for what I've done. Can you not forgive me for that?" And I guess she makes a move. Let's see. Yeah, I guess defuse with fast talking, trying to sway. He has to drop the lowest one here. Come on, come on. Drop the... Or, sorry, not drop the lowest. Drop the highest. So, what is that? An 8? Okay. An 8 means... There's a cost to securing safety. The danger will soon return. The danger is still present but threatening someone or something else. Ooh. I'm going to choose that one because what's probably going to happen is this herald is going to like realize like, okay, yeah, we should probably give forgiveness to her. And then he turns to Alon and then says, "You have been offered clemens. He, however, has not. Long have I waited for a chance to bring this one to justice. He has been raiding on the weak and helpless who are lost out in this wasteland. It is only because I was seeking to stop his injustice that I found this garden in the first place. He has much to answer for." And so Riva like looks at Alon and is like, "What? Like, you've been doing what?" And Alon, like, you can't see his face because it's under the helmet, but he's obviously ashamed. You know, for if we were in his viewpoint, we'd know he was ashamed. I guess it's not obvious, but let's see. I mean, she can't really just like try to sway the angel again. So I think there's like a fight, right? Alon and this angel are fighting. And so he does have a move called Heroism is optional. When you use an opening to escape a situation, roll plus steal. On a hit, you get away. Yeah, and this is like does bad things. So he could attempt to do this. But there's not really an opening yet. Ooh, but what if there could be an opening? Let me look. I'm going to have him roll Unearthed Forgotten Lore just about this wasteland. And he gets advantage. He's not good at lore, I don't think. But he does get advantage on it. Because I want him to like know some secrets that he can use to his advantage here. So he's going to drop the... Or he's going to keep 2. -1, okay. Okay, so it's a 9. So that means... gain 1 data, and you can ask 1. How can I turn it to my advantage? And I think, like, what I want to happen here, because it's been foreshadowed with this little thing I've been doing, is that he knows, and so I think he gets off of his horse, and he revs his chainsaw sword, right? He's like, it has been a long time in coming, Harold. I knew my day would arrive eventually. And he's like, they slowly start to like pace. Right? He starts to like pace in like a half circle around the thing, right? Around the Herald. And the Herald is kind of like gliding towards him. And they have a tense moment where he's like sort of backing up a little bit at a time. And then the Herald is saying, you should surrender yourself to my judgment. It is right and good. Do not try to escape. Or no, and I think he says, actually, do not try to fight me. It will end poorly for you. I am a servant of the Holy Father. And I think Elon pops his like visor up on his helmet, and he says, fight you? Oh no, I'm not going to be the one fighting you. And then a giant crab comes up from below the Herald and tries to grab him. And basically, it's not like the Herald's going to, like, attack him. Or the Herald's going to die from this crab. It's that he's going to use the opening to escape. So he's going to roll plus steel at advantage and a +2. Oh. I'm just going to roll it again because I forgot to roll 3d6 instead. Boom. Okay, 9. Same result. So his move means, let's see, on a hit you get away. On a 7 and 9 you choose 2 of this list. Let's see. He'll choose you get hurt during the escape because it's probably not going to be too hard. And you owe someone for your escape. Yeah, so Riva has a... Right. She can come back to this guy, and he's going to owe her for something. He's going to feel guilty about this whole thing. What does harm exactly signify? Like, what are the... 56 is the page I need. How do they scale that, I guess, is my question. Still grounds and harm. Yeah. Let's say a 3. That's what it gives him. So he's at strained. He's excited, wrathful, and strained. Gives him -1 force. So we see him. So basically, what happens is he tries to escape, and he basically does. But the Herald, with his flaming sword, just like levels it as this sand creature is like trying to attack it. Attack him, I guess, is the angel's probably a male, and it's just like dodging, and then levels his flaming sword, and then like a jet of flame shoots out. And basically what happens is he gets branded once more on the other side of his face. And so now he's just like a total wreck. Just like on fire sort of a thing. But he does escape. And Riva takes the opportunity to just run as well. Though she's very sad because Elon... is not the person she thought he was. And yeah, she gets back. I think she gets back safely. And I guess what she does is she goes back to Kelith, to the main city, and she knows that she has to take over leadership. So we see a scene of the whatever. I'm trying to think of what place they would like meet. It would be some sort of town hall or makeshift town hall. I'm just thinking of what kind of building it would actually be. Let's say it's like a I don't know. What's an interesting place they can meet? Let's say like just like a warehouse, right? Warehouse. There's crates everywhere, big old metal like industrial crates. And a whole bunch of people are just gathered like a mosh pit style in this place, and they're all just yelling at each other. Some of the people are like sitting on crates on one side of this warehouse or the other, but there's a lot of people just like yelling at each other in the middle of this like stadium or the middle of the warehouse, right in between these two stacks of crates. And nobody's making any sense. Everybody's arguing about what to do. Right, like what are we gonna do about the perihelions? What about the last watch? Like we should be looking after just ourselves. Like are we gonna pay attention to the common people? All of these things are kind of just floating around. And then what happens is there's a window, and we start to kind of like pan around, and we see this open window, and we see Riva jet in, right, and her wings, stop her, and she hero lands right in the windowsill, holding the top of the windowsill, and she looks in, and everyone's just like, what the heck is this? And then she drops down, stands up, and walks into the center of the place. You know what actually happens? And I don't think we notice this in that old scene. But what happens is one of the things that he can actually choose, and heroism is optional, Elon, is he can leave something important behind. And I didn't choose that because I wasn't sure what it would be. But totally what happens is he leaves the white cloak behind. Obviously, right? The cloak that basically signals, like, I am the leader of the Hellbreakers. And this is why the Hellbreakers have had such a hard time, is nobody has taken this prophet leader position, right? Because the cloak was gone. And right, what she does is she is wearing the cloak. She gets out of her... No, that's what she's holding the cloak, right? And she walks in, and then the wings kind of like retract into the back of the suit, and then she just like one hand puts the cloak over her and then ties it, right? And she is now wearing the white cloak of the prophet leader, like of the Hellbreakers, and everyone's like, what are you doing? And she steps into the center of the room, and she says, how would she go about doing this? I have sought out the exile. I have taken back what is rightfully ours. And there's just like complete silence other than her speaking for the first time in a long time in this meeting chamber. I will reclaim the Hellbreakers to their purpose, their mission, their quest. I have been chosen, not by fate, but by the God that Jadin served, and that the heralds serve, and that we once served. Follow me. Cease this squabbling. Follow me, and we will be whole again. Things will be right again. And I guess this is where she makes a roll. I'm trying to think if she can... Well, I imagine that the cloak of Jadin is a device, right? When you find the device, the GM gives you a few clues to what it can do. When you use the device, say a thing you want it to do based on the clues and roll plus lore. That's probably what I'm going to try first. Even though she's not good at lore, I would like her to try that. And I think it should be like, people listen to you, right? Like, that's probably what it actually does, is it gives you, like, persuasion abilities. It makes people like you. So, and I think that's fair based on the clues. So roll plus lore. Here we go. No. It was a 4. Okay, well, obviously it doesn't do anything. Extra. But does something bad happen with it? I know a GM move happens, but... Yeah, maybe it's just that she doesn't have whatever you need to actually activate it, right? She can't figure out what to do with it. Right? I think I'm going to reveal an unwelcome truth as the 6-, right? And the unwelcome truth is she is no more fit to hold this cloak than Aelon was, and she knows it. She's faking, right? And she knows that she was hoping in her mind maybe there was some sort of mystical power about this, and now she's realizing either there just isn't and it's all a fake, or I am the fake and it won't work for me. But she's going to try to sway everyone anyway, so... I don't know if it's diffuse exactly. It's probably just find common ground. That's probably what this is. Come on, Reva. Yes, she did it. On a 10 plus, they pick 1. So 1 stipulation. You reveal your full agenda here. I want to do that one. Yeah, so, right? Someone screams out, like, and what would you do if you lead us, sort of a thing. And I think she says, ooh. I got to think about this in terms of the foreshadowing we've had so far with this. What would be her move here? What is her full agenda? What does she want? And she's a firebrand, so she wants the family to rise up against an oppressor. But how, right? Is she going to be like, yes, the brutal, like, we have to do the hard thing, like Aelon did? That's the lesson I've learned? Or is it something related to that, right? Like, is she going to... Because this is the thing, right? There's a pull and tug here. She's struggling with whether or not to fully embrace this prophet leader thing and whether or not she even believes in it. Or is she going to fake it like Aelon did? And she's assuming he did, maybe. And be a fraud. And I guess, like, in the full agenda part here, rather, it's like, are we going to gather our allies? And yeah, you know what? I think she's going to try, at the very least, first. Okay, so her full agenda is, right, she says, we are going to gather our allies. We need help. We obviously cannot do this on our own. We will go to the heralds. We will find those among the last watch who still want to help us. We will seek out those who want to join our cause. We will gather our strength, gather our friends, and then we will hit them where it hurts. We will not back down, and we will no longer play at justice. And then they're all like, all right, cool, let's do it. And they join her mission. Cool. So, let's zoom out. I gotta find the zoom out moves. That's not, I need story moves. That's what I need. When events move from zoomed-in scenes to the bigger picture and actions covering weeks and months become important, each player whose main character wasn't involved picks one. That doesn't matter here because there's no other people. Is that the only thing that happens? Oh, okay. Yep. There we go. Yep. See, zoom out. And... okay. I forgot about this. The tool up move here. There's actually some other cool things that you can have. Anyway, she is going to mark the leader role. Right? Like, she is the leader now, even though she isn't technically doing right now if your family rises up against an oppressor, right? Say where your forces are waiting in ambush. That will be the next thing that happens. She has to gather up allies first. That'll be the next thing here. When you change roles, add 1 to a stat or get a new move. Let's see. What do I want? Yeah, she should have the secret army. It's gonna be good for her. Awesome. Cool. Well, that was really awesome. think that's probably it. She does get... No, I don't think she would. She wouldn't bring back the cloak as tech to her family, right? Because she's gonna keep that device. That's actually something I need to do on here too. I don't think he didn't. What's his face? Omari didn't bring back that tech to the recollection. He technically still has it. No data gets earned, I think, either. Let's see if there's any other family moves I want to do with them real quick, though. Well, conduct diplomacy is going to be stuff that she's going to be doing next. Well, first, she gets leadership and morale as... Oh, wait a second. No, because I get surpluses, but that just means I don't have a need for that. So they don't have surplus of leadership or morale yet. They just don't have a need for it. That does mean the mood is +2 though, which is great. They still need justice though. Cool. That's awesome. Let's see what other things I might want to do. Don't need to do hold together. I'm gonna do that next. Not gonna claim anything by force. Do I have any subterfuge things? No, I don't. I already did uncover secrets. Yeah, it's all probably stuff for another session. Lend aid, find a surplus, wait tool for the job. Okay, yep, I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else that I need to do. Well, that was actually really fun. I kind of want to write that as a little novella now. Like, that had its own beginning, middle, and end, and it was pretty cool. I am definitely going to do a solo session like this again. It's cool to find out what the Hellbreakers were up to. So, all right, I think that's it for episode 4 of the Hellbreaker Sequence, this little solo session. I'm excited to see what the Hellbreakers do as they continue to gather allies and try to do some stuff in the grand scheme of things. That's it. Adios.